and welcome to New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones. I am Laura Jones, and we're so glad to have you here. The Assembly Judiciary Committee has advanced 2 bills aimed at strengthening protections for New Jersey's immigrant communities and clarifying how local law enforcement interacts with federal immigration authorities. To break down what these bills would do and what they could mean across the state, I will be joined later in the show by their prime sponsor, Assemblywoman Ellen Park. First, though, new leadership is taking shape at the Republican Party in New Jersey following a very difficult election cycle. Christine Hanlon was just elected chair of the New Jersey GOP, becoming the first woman to hold the role in more than 30 years. She joins me now to talk about her vision for the party and what comes next. Christine Hanlon, welcome and congratulations on your election.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be with you today.
Well, so for viewers who may not be familiar with how things work, can you walk us through the party process that led to your selection as ONNJ GOP chair?
Yes, absolutely. So the Republican Party in New Jersey has a set of bylaws, and it calls for, when there is a chair election, 2 people from each county to cast their votes for chair. And those people are called the Republican State Committee members. There's a male and a female from every county, and they are elected. Well, they used to be elected up until last year. They used to be elected in the primary election to represent the county to the Republican Party. But last year, the legislature and the governor signed off on a law that changed that process to sort of like an internal party election within each county. And those 2 individuals who are elected now sort of internally in the party represent the county to the state Republican organization, and they cast their votes for chair. So it's 42 people who vote on this election.
Right, and you won by quite a big margin. You got 26 of the 42 votes. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, right. Okay. Just a question. Also, you've really got your work cut out for you. I mean, Republicans lost the governor's race by 14 points. They lost seats in the assembly. Your job, one right out of the box, is rebuilding. How do you rebuild the Republican Party?
Yes. Well, it comes to trying to unify people, get the party on a strong footing, both financially and from an organizational perspective. New Jersey has 800,000 more registered Democrats, and it had been trending downward, that number. But, it's still a very large number, and Republicans are very much outnumbered there. And so we really need to focus on voter registration, party affiliation, having a party that appeals and is attractive to voters. So we're going to do a lot of things structurally and from a branding perspective to try and bring people into our party and understand what we're about.
You had more Republicans voting than in the last election, so Republicans have expanded voter registration. Is there any particular group that you're really looking to make inroads? Is it young people, people of color, women, men? Like, where are you looking to make inroads and grow the base?
I would say all of the above. We need to grow everywhere. We need to be more appealing to women voters. We do have an issue there in terms of women voters. But I think across the board, we need to be reaching out to all demographics, and that's very important to me. As you said, we did do well, in terms of the number of people who came out to vote and voted on the Republican side. It just wasn't our year. We thought we had a lot of enthusiasm. Jack was a great candidate. He worked tirelessly up and down the state. But I think there was more, it turned out, more voters who came out for Mikey Sherrill. There was a lot of enthusiasm on the Democratic side. And I think sometimes that's kind of a natural occurrence in terms of, what party is controlling the federal government. We've seen that before here in New Jersey, where there's sort of that different, energy on the side of the aisle that is not controlling the federal government. But, in terms of appealing to voters, we are very focused on, affordability issues. This is something that you hear all across the state, that New Jersey is really not affordable and people are moving south because of that reason. And that really hits seniors. It hits young people. I worry that my kids who are, getting to that age of potentially getting married soon and settling down, will they want to be here in New Jersey? I really want them to be here, but there's an affordability crisis that really cuts across the board in terms of demographics. And that's something that we really want to hone in on and make that part of our platform going forward.
All right, so you've talked a lot about party unity since the election. So what does unity actually look like in practice? Because we have different parts of the Republican Party, some leaning a little bit more to the right, some leaning a little bit more to the left, and then you have those Republicans middle of the road.
Yes, that is challenging, I would say, on both sides of the aisle. You do have different factions, and even on the Democrat side, you have the issue of people who are sort of, leaning in different ways. But I think through developing a platform that appeals to our voters with a real New Jersey focus, and I think that building a strong organization that is focused on winning really tries to bring people together. And I've always found that, the stronger organization you build, people want to get on board with that and people want to be a part of it. And that's a big focus for me, and really trying to develop that messaging that has appeal, sort of, a very broad appeal. And where can we come together and move forward together?
Yeah, so we just had an election in New Jersey, and then coming the statewide election. Next one is going to be the congressional seat, and the one that's in play is the 7th District, Republican Tom Kean having that seat. Can you talk a little bit about, because that's going to be one of the more closely watched races. So you've got your work cut out for you, really trying to keep that seat. Looking to 2026 and then to 2027 with the following election, can you just talk a little bit about how you plan on attacking that and building and not losing any more ground?
Yes. This year we actually have a congressional election coming up very soon for the governor's seat. The CD11 is coming up very soon, and we'll be focusing on that. And then, of course, Congressman Tom Kean Jr., Congressman Chris Smith, Congressman Jeff Van Drew, we will all be working together with our partners at the federal side, the Republican National Committee, the National Republican Congressional Committee. We will be working very hard and really focusing in on and working together and focusing in on maintaining those seats and really trying to pick up seats. Yeah. As we go forward into 2027, I have been working, over many years with our leaders in the Assembly and in the Senate. And I know we're going to come together and work on our platform, our messaging, and really try to build this year as we lead into 2027.
Yeah, can you talk just a little bit, again, as the new chair, your top priorities, whether it be party infrastructure, fundraising, candidate recruitment, voter outreach, what are your top priorities?
Well, I would say all of the above. Those were really good points that you made. We do need to be raising money, and that is of critical importance. I'm a big structural organizational person, and we need to get things rolling and create a structure that people are attracted to, that want to be a part of. So really, all of those things you mentioned are of critical importance. And I think I bring to the table the experience to be able to do that. We really have our work cut out for us. But, I really think that we have, a lot of positive days ahead, and, hitting the ground running to make this happen.
So the Democrats, they're keeping the governor's office. They've, expanded their reach in the legislature. So how do you see the GOP role as the opposition party in Trenton? You have fewer seats in the legislature now, down to, I believe, 23 members in the legislature. So how do you address that?
I will take the lead also from my members of the legislature. We have a very strong caucus, both in the Assembly and the Senate. And I know that they are really working hard to develop their points, their messaging, their unity. And they will be focusing, I believe, on real affordability issues here in New Jersey, because that really is what is driving the conversation. If you're on social media, if you are, watching the news, people are hurting in that regard. And I think our Republicans are really going to be focused on that across the board.
Yeah. And really, can you talk a little bit about younger voters, new voices, really, playing a future, talk about things on social media. That's where a lot of it is at right now. So can you talk about the role you see younger voters playing?
Younger voters are going to play a big role. We have seen on the Republican side of the aisle a real growth of our younger Republicans. We have seen so many. Last year, there were so many volunteers, so many young people who actually came from across the country to help with the Jack Ciattarelli campaign and help the Republicans. So we see younger voters and really younger people who are interested in politics and interested in their future and want to stay here in New Jersey really getting involved. We did have on the Republican side of the aisle, young people get elected, school board and local council, and we're really proud of that. And one of my missions, my kids, I have 4 kids, ages 19 through 25, and they like to be involved. And I see that their friends like to be involved. So they're really tuned in, especially because of social media. Elections have become, and politics has really just become part of everyday life. You can't get away from it. And I see young people getting very engaged because they see it on social media, they see it on TV, they see it while they're watching a football game or, sports games. So that really has energized people, and it is very important for me to engage our youth in the process.
All right, Christine Hanlon, we thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, and congratulations on your election.
Thank you so much.
The Assembly Judiciary Committee has advanced 2 bills aimed at strengthening protections for New Jersey's immigrant communities and reinforcing trust between residents and law enforcement. One bill would put the state's existing immigrant trust directive into law, while the other would create protections for sensitive locations like schools, hospitals, and places of worship. Joining me now is Assemblywoman Ellen Park, a Democrat from Bergen County, chair of the Judiciary Committee, and an immigrant from South Korea. Assemblywoman Ellen Park, welcome. It is so good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
good
absolutely.
to be here.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk. The Immigrant Trust Directive, it's been in place for years and it's already been upheld in court. So can you first explain what it is and why it's important to move now and to put this policy into state law?
As a New Jerseyan, one out of 4 residents here are immigrants. We are feeling very fearful of what's happening nationally. And so we don't want that here in New Jersey. And so there's definitely, not only is it important, but it's urgent that we pass this as soon as we can.
Yeah, and can you explain what the Immigrant Trust Act is?
Yes. So what it is, well, there are 3 parts, right? There is the Attorney General's directive that we're codifying, so that basically we want to make sure that our residents are protected, so that the three parts is their data is not shared from hospitals or schools or police saying that that they're immigrant or they're non documented, and the other part is that they can also call 911. They can go to the hospitals, they can go to schools, and they won't be detained there.
And Assemblywoman, so there's a third part as well. What is that?
The third part is codifying the current AG's directive in that local and state police should not help assist federal ICE agents to detain, residents who don't have any kind of criminal conviction. They don't have a warrant. And this way, we protect our residents and build that trust that they're not going to be just picked up and detained for what they look like and their status of their immigration.
You were mentioning a little bit about schools, hospitals. The Safe Communities Act focuses on protecting information and also sensitive locations, schools, hospitals, places of worship. So what in the bill would change the practice? And again, can you just talk about why these spaces are so important for immigrant families?
Yes, I mean, first of all, these are basic amenities. If you're injured and you need to go see a doctor, you have an emergency, you should be able to go to the hospital without, fearing that you're going to get detained there. And also, going to church to worship is, where you can actually get solace, and that should also be protected area. You shouldn't have to feel that you go to these places and there are going to be ICE agents waiting for you outside. And if you heard some of the testimony from our committee the other day, we had over 200 people coming to testify in favor. It's very heartening in that sense, that disheartening, that you can't just basically leave your house for anything, really.
Yeah, can you share any of the stories that you've heard from your constituents, anything that might have happened at the committee that you hope resonated with the rest of the committee and lawmakers?
Yes, we had a prosecutor from Monmouth County who came and testified saying that he was testifying as to the AG's directive and how important that is to build trust. He talks about the fact that in the last year, because of what's happening nationally, that trust has been broken. The police they're having a very hard time having people come forward and report crimes because they are fearful that they may get investigated or detained. Also, we had many others that came as having personal experience from what's happening. We had a gentleman whose mother was detained, is still detained, even though they are here legally, and they're just awaiting for some sort of resolution to their application for a green card. And so, there's really no rhyme or reason why ICE is, other than, I guess, meeting with quota at this point. Originally they talked about just detaining convicted criminals, but now there's no rhyme and reason. And I am myself an immigrant, and I am fearful that because of the way I look, and if I speak up to an ICE agent, that they will just harass and detain me because the way I look.
I think one of the things that's striking me as we're talking about this is, you think about, if I get pulled over for speeding or what have you, or I don't, what have you, I'm going to be nervous already, and I'm going to start maybe even looking even more suspicious. And if you have somebody who is an immigrant who might not know the language, might not be able to find the proper information, like I can really see how that can easily escalate. And you just mentioned that you yourself came, you're an immigrant, you came from South Korea. So can you talk about how your own experiences shape the way you approach these issues as a lawmaker?
I never thought in a million years that what is happening, to be honest. But that is the reality right now. One of the reasons why I became a legislator is because I'm an immigrant and I naturalize, and I take that very seriously. I take my oath very seriously. And the fact, our country is 250 years old now, and there's 250 years of laws that we've been abiding, and that's another reason why I became an attorney. I really am flabbergasted every day as to what is happening. And, every day there's something on social media. And the other day I saw some woman in Chicago who is an American citizen, has her US passport in her car, but yet she was still dragged out, and she kept screaming, "My passport is in the car." And later on, they let her go. But again, this is the type of climate we live in, where we have these agents who are probably not qualified to be an agent, right? They're just recruiting. I think I read the other day they recruited another 12,000 agents, and it's just very intimidating. And I never thought the 50 years that I've been here to fathom that something like this would be happening to us right now.
There is so much tension, even under the best of circumstances. So people who support this say, these bills, they improve public safety, they make people feel safer about coming forward. But how do you respond to the critics who are arguing the opposite, who are saying, well, if you don't have anything and you're here the way you should be, that you don't have anything to worry about? What do you say to those people?
I think, the reality is we're getting picked up because of the way we look, right? So if you look at the statistics or the data, it's not people who are, I guess, Caucasian being picked up or being harassed, who, let's say, New Jersey has a big Russian community. We have other communities that are, non-brown, yellow, whatever. And I don't think that's happening in those communities. So, let's call it what it is. It's happening to mostly brown communities. And so that's not fair, and nor is it just. And where is the equal protections law? Where is the due process, right? Yes, through due process, if the person that's being detained was here illegally, they should go back to their country, or there should be some sort of final order, but that is not what is happening.
Well, now that these bills, they've advanced out of committee, what comes next, and what do you see as the biggest challenge ahead?
I'm hoping that people are being more empathetic to what is happening. Again, it's not just about what you see, on paper, because, like I said, this is happening mostly to brown communities, Black and brown communities. And so I'm hoping that it will be passed through the Senate end of this week, and also through the Appropriations Committee tomorrow, I believe, and that our current sitting governor will take this very seriously and see this as a need and urgent matter that needs to be pushed. And you know what? I feel if we protect one person, we're protecting everyone, and that's what we've always been about. And so, again, I think this would be for the greater good, and not just for the immigrant communities.
Assemblywoman, we thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this legislation and also share part of your personal story as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And that'll do it for today. I'm Laura Jones. Thanks so much for watching New Jersey Politics. We look forward to seeing you back here next time.